To our top story tonight, and the Ministry of Education is on the defensive over its failure to fully implement the government's policy of disbursing 22,244 Kenya shillings annual capitation per secondary school student as approved in the national budget. Instead, schools will receive 16,900 shillings per learner, a shortfall the ministry blames on budget constraints amid rising student numbers. The decision has triggered nationwide uproar, with members of parliament accusing both the education and treasury ministries of misleading Kenyans and undermining trust in the education sector. Melita Oletenges reports.
The debate over secondary school capitation is intensifying as the education sector grapples with a deepening cash crisis that could see parents forced to cover a 6,000 shillings funding shortfall per student. Education Cabinet Secretary Migos Ogamba now admits that the government can only provide 16,900 shillings per learner annually, falling short of the 22,244 stipulated in policy. Ogamba attributes the shortfall to severe budgetary constraints brought on by rising enrollment and limited fiscal space, insisting the ministry is doing its best to keep schools running despite mounting financial pressures.
It does not mean that we have moved from the 22,244 to the 16,900. It just means we have not been able to reach the 22,244 per student because of financial limitation.
The Cabinet Secretary explained that the amount allocated by Treasury when divided among growing numbers of senior school students is insufficient to meet the 22,244 per learner provided for in government policy.
You divide that amount with the number of students you have. And the number of students has been going up every year. Yeah? But the figure has not been moving up to match that number.
The policy on free primary and secondary education has not changed. The government will continue financing education through capitation as it has been over the year.
However, members of parliament are faulting both the Ministry of Education and the National Treasury for conflicting statements, accusing them of misleading Kenyans by quoting 22,244 per learner on paper, while schools are actually receiving far less.
Why can't the ministry be bold and tell the schools that they should not budget for 22,000 and they budget either of 17 or 15,000? Because our schools are closing down.
This is the dawning reality that we now go back as members of parliament and in the next supplementary budget bridge the gap between 16,900 to 22,000 shillings so that you issue a circular that is proper.
Amid the funding uproar, some leaders are calling on government to rein in what they described as non-essential projects and redirect those resources to struggling schools, with ODM leader Raila Odinga declaring that free basic education is a sacred non-negotiable right for every Kenyan child.
Mambo ya free basic education, we are not begging from anyone. We are demanding that it must continue.
Tulisema tunataka elimu ya bure kuanzia primary hadi secondary, hata mpaka chuo kikuu. Sasa tunasema elimu ya secondary ni lazima.
The burden now falls on parents who will have to dig deeper into their pockets to ensure their children continue receiving an education. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
We're staying with education and the future.